mind and body, they are connected. You cannot achieve the psychological well-being if you're not well with the body. And the opposite is true. By working on one, you can actually help the other one. You have to work on both.
We're here again. Alessandro Mora, thank you so much for joining us. And you have worked with elite performers, either in the athletic world or in the business world, so this is my first question for you. If I wanted to go from good performance to, let's say, world-class excellence using NLP, what's the first thing you would teach me?
Oh, definitely how to manage your state. Because many times people come to me when they are like in kind of a slump, okay? And the important part is to understand that a result, a performance, is a consequence of other things that are happening inside our head. So definitely manage your state, because if you're not in the right state, you cannot achieve and use the right resources in order to achieve the results. So this is one of the first thing I would work with you. And the second thing is working on your belief. Many times, top athletes, maybe they are top of the world in what they're doing, and they come to me when they're in a slump, and maybe they are thinking, I can do like this, but I cannot do that. I'm too old to do this, or I cannot do it anymore. I don't have anymore the physical capabilities to do that. Blah blah blah, whatever it is. And sometimes I have to work on their belief, the way they are conceiving all the possibilities. And it's a great work, actually, because it allowed me to understand the way they think when actually they are performing well, and the way they think when they are not performing well. And comparing the two allow them also to understand how they can prepare themselves in order to be at the top, at the peak performance.
Yeah, and I love it that you gave us like these two things: a state and also being able to do all this. I like it. And actually, that's so funny, because I do have a confession. A couple of years ago, you came to one of our Saturday classes, and I remember the one thing that I remember very clearly was when you were talking about how physical conditioning is essential for peak performance, mental performance. It was not optional. You say it's essential. And so that inspired me to start training my body and take it more seriously. So I want to say thank you for that. And now for people that are listening who might be thinking, well, I'm not an athlete, so why does physical training matter for my mental performance? Could you break this down for us a little bit?
Of course, because first part, mind and body, they are connected. You cannot achieve the psychological well-being if you're not if you're not well with the body, and the opposite is true. You cannot stay well with your body and not with your mind. So they are connected. There is not a split. So by working on one, you can actually help the other one, but you have to work on both. Because think about this. We are talking about, neuro-linguistic programming, and the beautiful thing and the myth, so the linguistic part means that, for example, the word we choose to express something in our word, I choose a word, and if I'm talking to you, I'm basically, with a particular word, I can create an image in your mind. And that image is gonna transform in biochemistry. Okay, so if you have an image or another image, I can create two different biochemistries in your body. this means you create a substrate for something else. So it can be, adrenaline and cortisol, and maybe you're motivated to do something, or it can be more adrenaline and another kind of cortisol, and you're scared about doing something. Or I can create, endorphins or oxytocin or other completely different, biochemistry, and you feel calm, you feel relaxed, you feel in love, you feel in contact with me. And this is only based on the word I choose in order to create something. So if something happened and I'm addressing it as a problem, it's going to create, the amygdala is going to say immediately, okay, it's time to fight or flight. On the other hand, if I say challenge, so we have a challenge, and if you are like an athlete and you're competitive, so you're going to prepare yourself, in a completely different way to do the challenge. If I say it's, a particular situation, I create a completely different, biochemistry. So it's the same actually experience, but describing it in a completely different way means create a different biochemistry, and that's so important. People don't understand this. It's not just the fact that I say something. It's also the word I choose can convey a completely different message.
And that is why, when you were mentioning earlier how addressing beliefs, right, is so important, because beliefs can be ideas, but also, it's words that we say about ourselves, right? Like you were mentioning, like someone saying, oh, I'm too old to do this, or maybe I cannot do this, whatever, and that is creating something, and it actually is creating a physiological thing sometimes. Response.
Yeah. And that's the important part, because if you have a particular biochemistry, then you can use some resources that you have and not others. So if I'm, ready to to get into action or whatever it is, definitely I can have resources like I'm speed, quickness, I'm thinking clearly, I'm in this kind of state. Definitely I don't have the resource of patience, for example, okay, or I don't have the resource of checking everything and all the the possible futures and the consequences, because I'm already into action. On the other side, if I'm completely calm, I'm taking it easy and I'm more, like chilling out, definitely I don't have the resource like be quick. I don't have maybe the aggressive part in the positive way. I'm talking about that, and while on the other hand, I have more, like time to think about it, maybe thinking about the consequences. So there is not a good or wrong, okay? There is something that is useful for that particular situation or not useful in that particular situation. If you think about top athletes that are competing within each other, let's say that if you are in a final or of whatever game you like, tennis or basketball, volleyball, soccer, football, whatever it is. Let's take tennis, for example. If you are in the final of a Grand Slam, of course, technically speaking, they are monsters. Of course, physically speaking, they are absolutely well prepared. What is going to do the difference between the two, if all the other skills are almost the same, is going to be what? How quick they get into the flow state, into the zone, so that actually they can get all the resources they need in order to the advantage. Okay. Many times the difference between winning or losing is just the way they did that particular point in that particular situation, or the mistake they did, or on the other part, how cold they were in order to get that particular point. It's just a little thing. So if they go prepared to that little thing, it's gonna be what's the most important part. And if they are trained to get in the zone, not to hope. Many times people come to me, top athletes also come to me, and they say, I would like to, I start a match and I hope to get into the flow as quick as possible so that, I can do my best. And they talk about that as it is something, outside of them, that maybe I'm lacking if it happens. And what I'm teaching them is, hey, it's your state, it's your brain, so you can create that if you know how to do it, of course. That's why NLP, all these kind of techniques are absolutely wonderful in order to get here in the zone. But as we talked before, also your body in the zone, because, for example, with breathing or technique that actually you can they are not mental, are more physical. Actually, you can use the body and the mind all together going into the same direction, so that actually they reinforce each other instead of creating obstacles.
Yeah, and so you were talking about like athletes coming to you maybe with being in the slump, right? That they cannot get there, or maybe an entrepreneur coming and also being in a slump because they cannot go into this state of flow. Like what is it that, how do you help them to get there? Like, do you have them visualize things, or what is it that you do?
It really depends on. I'm asking a lot of questions in order
Exactly.
to understand how they think in order to get into a slump. Because, as I told you before, it's a specific process.
Yeah.
It may happen, it may seems that it happens, like a habit, or because something happened in the past or whatever it is, and from that moment on, I just cannot do this. But remember this: every single thing we do constantly, it requires a strategy. Sometimes it's a good strategy, and the result is the result I want. Sometimes it's a very bad strategy, and it goes somewhere else. So, for example, some people, in a strategy, they put like an internal dialogue, which is absolutely not useful at all. In the performance environment, I use what we call the performance formula. Okay, and the performance formula is very simple. It's capital P equals little p minus I, which is capital P performance equals little p potential.
Okay.
So let's imagine this. If let's say that this is our equation. If you have your performance equals your potential, you're the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Because every single nuance of what you can do and put, you're gonna put it. Is the ideal engine, okay? No losing, heat, no losing anything.
Yeah. Not
Everything
losing
I
energy.
have is what I put.
Yeah.
Okay, so this would be perfect. But the reality, we know that many times, some athletes in training do better than the same athlete in competition.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Yesterday you could do this and this and this during training. Why you cannot do it now during the competition? And that's the minus I. And that minus I means minus, so potential, performance equals potential, minus interferences.
Oh, okay.
Those interferences can be, of course, if you are talking about sports, can be the opponent, can be, you know, the court, can be the audience, can be the referee, can be whatever, the weather, okay? So there are things that maybe they can cause some interference in my game. The first of all is the opponent, because he wants to interfere on my victory, okay?
Yes.
So he wanna win too. And so that's what every single athlete is gonna prepare. Okay, so I'm gonna study the opponent. I'm gonna study, you know, the strategy of the opponent and all these kind of things. That's good. That's what I'm training. Those are called external interferences. Okay, because they come from the external environment. On the other side, there is the internal interferences, which is the way you talk to yourself, which is your beliefs, which is, you know, your doubts, which is,
Yeah.
you know, the movie you create in your mind on how's gonna be the challenge or the game. And many times that's the problem, because maybe they have, you know, the image or the movie of last time, you know, I went against this particular opponent, I lost, and so maybe, or last time that there was the picker for the national team, you know, watching me and I did bad, and so he thought, and blah, blah. And we start creating what is called an inner game, opposite as an outer game. So the outer game is the game with the court, the opponent, with the racket, with the ball, whatever it is, and the net, and whatever it is. And then there is an inner game. And the inner game is done by, you know, images, sound, you know, feelings. And we know about that because neuro-linguistic programming is about how to take, you know, charge of the inner game that is creating the representation of
I love it. Yes.
and by changing the way you think, as always Dr. Richard Bandler says, by changing the way you think, you change the way you feel, and therefore it changes what you can do. And that's the big contribution I think NLP gave to all of us in order to understand when you change here, actually you can change the result right here. That's why the results are just the consequences of what we are doing here.
Yeah. And that's why you're so results oriented in your practice.
That's correct. So that's the point. To answer to your question, I ask the other person what they are doing in order to get into a slump, because the slump is just the result of something they are doing here.
Exactly.
Okay? Because definitely I'm not working on their technique, on their strategies, because they have their coaches and trainers that, and you know, the conditioning training to do that. I'm working on how they are using their mind, how they are managing their emotion in order to create that particular state, which is not helpful. And if it's not helpful, why it's not helpful? Because they cannot get to the resources they have. I saw many times. I keep seeing. I keep watching. You know, top athletes sport, and you can see them going into the zone, into the flow, and then get out, and then in, and then get out. And what I notice is the guy or the girl, okay, that is able to stay there in the biggest amount of time. At the end, is the one who's going to win.
Wow.
Okay, because they could use the most, you know, the percentage of their capabilities, of their resources when they are competing. And this is the same in the business world. If I have an important meeting, okay, or I have, you know, to do the convention, the big annual convention, or I have a big sales to do, you know, in front of potential customers, and I'm not in the right state, or I'm scared, or I have some doubts, it's gonna come out. That's why I told you the first thing I'm gonna work on is how to get in the perfect state.
Nice.
Because then you can use your resources and you can do the best that you can with the skills, the ability that you have. Now, the other part is absolutely important. And I love working with top athletes because I don't have to work on the skills. They know how to play. The big entrepreneurs or top manager, they know their job, how to do it. They can improve it, of course, as always, but they already know. They are professional. So I want to work. I love working with sport because you can see immediately the result of your work. Because if they're in a slump, as soon as you work with them and you find the way out, they immediately start performing outside of that slump. Okay, so they can get back to their normal, ability because they have the ability. If I have to work on the technique, it's gonna be tough. Okay, that's
Takes
why.
more time.
And that's not my job. They have the coaches, the conditioning training team that does that.
And so you help when you help someone go into the flow state, and so you're able to help them to stay in the flow state longer, because as you say, the one that stays longer wins, right? And
Correct.
so how do you help them? Do you help them anchor it in some way, or what is
I
it
use
that?
a lot of tools, of course. You mentioned visualization before. That's
Yeah.
one. I use anchoring. I use hypnosis. I use all the techniques, basic techniques we have and we learn in a practitioner seminar, of course, NLP practitioner seminar. So it's very easy. Easy if you know how to do it.
Exactly.
Of course. But yeah,
Non-invasive.
yeah, it's basic because it's the first part. Okay, I use submodalities a lot,
Yeah.
working with beliefs and working, with anticipation on all those kind of things. I work with also the physical part, so breathing. Okay, I work with, for example, heart coherence, so that actually they can create a more balance between the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, many of them are too stressed, so the sympathetic nervous system is always like that. But you have to, which is good when you're performing, for example. But if you're always like that, you don't recover. That's why I always teach them, for example, heart coherence, so that actually they can create a balance, and with this balance, they are more willing to manage their emotion. They can get immediately or quicker in a flow state, and that's a training. So it's called, in my idea, it's called mental training. It's not mental miracle. It's not that I work with them once and they're done. No, they have to train. They have to put all of those things in their routine, so that actually they become more efficient.
Nice.
Neural efficiency is what I'm after. So I want them to, use the minimum energy in order to get the maximum result, because they have
Nice.
to save energy for the important moment. If they put too much energy just so that they can get into the flow at the beginning of the game, and then after 4 hours or 5 hours of a match, they don't have any more energy. So neural efficiency for me is one of the most important thing. So what I'm looking for is where they lose energy during the game, during the path, during the race. And many time, the ruminating mind is gonna make them lose energy. Okay, I don't want that. A mind in the flow or a completely blank mind is even better. For example, if you are running, competing in let's say 400 meters length or those kind of things, because you have to be completely there.
Mm-hmm.
Different sports, you want to react. So, for example, if you're playing volleyball or soccer, which is a situational sport, you want to react to a particular thing. So we want them not to lose energy, which is important for the rest of the body, with the mind, and we won't make them efficient, let them to be efficient, so that actually they can have all the energy they need in order to get to the result they want. Because at the end of the day, when you are, after 5 hours of a game, you're maybe, in the final of a Grand Slam in tennis, the US Open or whatever it is, and at the end of the day, if you lost some energy around, for stupid thoughts, you're gonna pay it at the end, because you don't have the little thing that you will need in order to get to the result, or to do that particular service, or to do that particular response. It's like I don't know if you saw the movie Apollo 13.
Mm-hmm.
When they were in the space, and they have to go back, they didn't give them the instruction, because for everything that happened, they didn't have enough energy to get back into Earth. So the guy on the ground was into the simulator, unplugging things, plugging into different things, because they have to gain the 2 amperes, the little 2 amperes. 2 amperes, it's just, it's just like this, but they need a little 2 amperes in order to get them safe into Earth. And they work. For me, is the same thing. We have to save the 2 amperes, and the 2 amperes could be, like a stupid internal dialogue. Maybe just a stupid question that creates a doubt. For example, it's something like, what if I'm gonna fail this?
Mm-hmm.
And this, just a little thought, can open up a completely different scenario. And you don't want that when you're, kicking a penalty kick in the final of the world champion. So that's the world championship. That's the point.
Yeah, no, I like that concept of neural efficiency, right? Neural efficiency. Yeah, I had not heard that one before. And so, do you usually get people that are in the slump, or do you also get people that are in good shape but they just want to optimize?
In my dream, that would no, I'm joking. So in my in 30 years of career, let's say I had 95% of people that were in a slump, and 5-10% that people that actually they say, I'm really great and I want to even go better. Okay. Why this? Because when I started out, especially here in Italy, it wasn't so common, those kind of things, mental training, mental conditioning, those kind of, coaching. Nowadays, it's more known. So people start, also athletes start talking about, my mental coach helped me to do that. They are thanking us, and so we are becoming more popular and popular. Okay, but I remember 30 years ago when I said, I'm a personal coach, I'm helping people. They thought I was like the basketball coach, okay, or the personal trainer kind of thing, because they were not used to work here and train the mind. And what I'm telling always is, when you start training your mind and you never done it, you are improving mathematically. It's like, for example, I use this example. If you've never worked on your conditioning your body, okay, you never had a trainer that helped you with the sport, and you're a volleyball player or you're a soccer player or whatever. As soon as you start working on your physical condition with, I don't say a phenomenon, okay, just a regular, conditioning trainer, your result will be mathematically better because you're jumping higher, or you're more resistant, or you're stronger. So you improve mathematically your results. That's the same with the mind. If you never did anything and you start just working, how to create, some rituals, or some anchors, or knowing that our brain doesn't compute negation at the first search. Knowing this and how to use it in an optimum way is going to create mathematically better results. That's why I think every single performer need to know all those things. Then my work is translated in their sport, or in their environment, in their business, so that it's easy to apply it. Because business people will never learn, generally speaking, the meta model. It would be great for them, but they don't have the time, they don't want to put it into practice, blah blah blah. That's why we want to translate it in some like 5 killer questions that actually they can use in order to help their colleagues, or to get to their clients, or whatever it is. So that's why frameworks are super used and easy to go with in the business environment. And by knowing this, people can get better results.
Yeah. And when you work with either performers, athletes, or business, and you teach them, for example, to get into their flow state, and you're teaching them to use the inner resources to know how to go into state and stuff, do you ever see this translating into other areas of their life? Because once they know how to do it, it's a strategy, right? And maybe they can apply it somewhere else.
Correct. And I teach them that, and I also I always tell them, and this ability will generalize in also other area of your life. So that's something I use too.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, it's especially if you give them such a great thing, a background or something, a baseline, something to standard. Sorry, that's the word, standard, to be able to do this. Then they can definitely use it in other areas. And when I think about the people that I know that are excellent at what they do, one trait that I've observed is a little bit of obsession, maybe not a little bit, a lot of obsession. Is that something that you incorporated any of the trainings that you do, or?
Well, actually, I don't incorporate because they already have it when they come to me.
Okay.
So it's the other way around. And I love watching it too. Okay. They have this, I call it a wonderful obsession, because they are so, and that's what allow them to. And this is also what put them into slump when they don't know how to operate. Because if they are so focused on that, if something here goes wrong, it's gonna completely it goes into the different areas of their life. So it's just is not good, everything is not good. So my work sometimes is just to help them to put it in a different from a different perspective. But I think the wonderful obsession is the engine they have, and that help them to do the great things they do every single day. Without that, they won't be like the big champion they could, or they are doing it with paying a very high price. I don't know if you read the Open from by Agassi, Andre Agassi, the tennis player. And he said how basically was hating every single day of training, and he became number one anyway. Okay, but with a very high price that you need to pay. If you have that obsession, wonderful obsession, it's gonna be easier, definitely easier.
Your taming obsession. No.
Well,
Your taming obsession, you're like giving it a direction to the obsession.
aiming, exactly.
That's funny. And talking about that, the other day when we were, coordinating this call, you were in a horse park, correct?
Yes, I was.
Have you ever worked with a rider as an athlete?
Yes.
And when you work with them, do you notice if when you work with them, the performance of the horse also changes?
It definitely changes, and that's a we call it binomium. That's a binomium that is it's wonderful because horses are very sensitive animals, so they immediately pick the rider state of mind and body. And so you can see if the rider is tense, they create tension on the horse.
Yeah.
And you can see that they are moving in a completely different way. And so yes, absolutely. And one of the things I teach them, the first thing I teach them is how to manage the state, because it's going to interfere, it's going to create with the state of the horse. That's why it's even more important than that. And then on the other side, the horse can influence the state of the rider. That's why they are so connected, and it's wonderful to see them watching especially when they have a great connection.
Yeah. And I know, I don't know if you know, but I do have horses, and that's the experience I have. Like when I didn't know how to control my state and I was a little nervous, my horse would mirror that and was double nervous. And then he would scare me, and then I would be more scared, and then he got more scared. It was terrible, then it would be escalating that way. But on the other hand, you're right. When you're calm, then the horse starts calming down, and it's like, okay, this is chill, and then we can perform so well.
I was reading a research some weeks ago. They were talking about that the magnetic field of the horse, which is bigger than ours, you have a big heart, bigger than ours, actually can influence our state. That's why many people, maybe they are kind of stressed from the day or not in a big place. As soon as they go near and close to the horses, they are affected by them.
Yeah.
So I really love the idea. Now also science support all of this.
Yes, that is true. They have huge hearts, and that's right. The movement of the heart creates this magnetic field, and they're grounded all the time. So that's that doubles everything. Yeah, like for me, when I'm a little tense or whatever, I first check myself, but then I can go to the posture, and it's really easy to get into a flow of calmness and and relaxation.
And there are many people that do horse therapy in that particular way, using horses just to ground and balance the energy of the people.
Yeah. And so how did you, going back a little bit in time, how did you started this emphasis of NLP and peak performance, because you did probably the practitioner like all of us, you started like everybody else, and suddenly was that something that you were doing before NLP, or it was NLP and then you did
Actually, I was lucky enough to discover this word when I was 17.
Oh.
So I did a seminar as a student about learning skills, mnemonic, memory techniques, speed reading, because I wanted to, be quicker in my study. I wanted to study a lot. I was playing volleyball, coaching volleyball. I was, having my driving test. I had my high school exam at the end of the year. So I had a lot of things to learn and quickly. And so I did this seminar. And in that seminar, I discovered the power that we can have if we have good strategies, in this case, learning strategies. And by chance, they were mentioning NLP. So then I started to go deeper into this NLP, and I discovered the magic word of NLP, basically. And I did my practitioner. But actually, it wasn't the former practitioner, but I learned some skills about NLP. And then I did my practitioner. While I was doing that, I was playing volleyball. Okay, and I noticed my coach told me, Alessandro, you're different in a better way. What did you do? What are you doing? And I say, well, I'm doing this seminar, blah, blah, blah. They're explaining me how to, think in a different way, communicate with myself and other people in this different way, blah, blah. I was a setter, so every single ball goes through my hand, and I was basically directing, the flow of the game. And so they said, okay, my coach said, okay, wonderful. Can you help your teammate because it's in a slump, it's in a difficult situation? So I said, oh, yeah, of course I can. Of course I'm gonna help. So I started, completely from completely chance it was, and they start getting results. And so I had this teammate, and then I had the other teammate, and then they start talking to each other, and so other people start asking for my help, and that's how it started. And then the coach went in another team, and then he asked me to go there, and that's basically how it works. Also right now, because when I work with top athletes or top coaches, they then change teams, and they want to bring it with me. So I get the chance to know, for example, in volleyball or in different sports, in athletics, I start knowing, and working with a lot of athletes just because they change the teams, and they start talking about me, about the work that they did with me. And if somebody is in a struggle, they're gonna ask me. And then I start working with agents. And when you work with agents, then people now definitely they want their athletes to get better, and so they're asking me, okay, work with this, work with that. Alessandro, help me. You're a magician, so help me with this situation. I'm not a magician, but I know I have some skills that can help them, to get back quickly in a good position, in a good place. So I started for chances, and then, of course, by training more and more, then I did my practitioner, my master practitioner in NLP. Then I came to Richard Bandler, John La Valle, and Kathleen La Valle, and I do my seminars with them. And then there is a story. I start,
So you learn in Italian first?
Yes.
NLP.
Yes.
And all your work is in Italian, or do you also work with English?
No, I work also in English, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially during the pandemic, my business really changed because everybody was stuck, and so we started doing coaching. This kind of coaching, remote. And I started noticing that I remember, especially one day, that in the morning for me in Italy, I was working with Singapore, an athlete in Singapore. And then it took me 1 hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour, whatever it was the session. And then I had 30-minute break, and then I started working with an athlete in Istanbul, in Turkey. And then another half an hour, and then I work with an athlete in Italy, and then in the afternoon in the US. So basically, in 4 hours of working, I traveled all around the world. And then I say, wow, before COVID hit, it would take me, probably couple of weeks of
Mhm.
of working with all these people, because I have to take the plane and go there, stay there maybe a couple of days, and then go back and here and spending a lot of money for them. And I changed my model of coaching, my coaching
Mhm.
model, and that now I'm doing more online kind of thing. And this helps me to do everything in the whole world. And then when I need to see in person the athlete, I take my plane. For example, I just mentioned, just before the interview, I was on the court with the volleyball team. I'm coaching, mentally coaching, because I needed to be there and work with some particular things on the team.
Mhm. And do you notice a difference in the way you deliver the session in person versus online? Or
Yes. Yeah, there is a difference. There are things that you want to do in person, other things that you can do online, because especially the first sessions, if I can, I always do it
in
in
person?
person, because I want to set some particular things,
Yeah.
and then I can use the things I already set online with the person.
Mhm.
If other athletes or other entrepreneurs, I'm just working, remotely, and it began remotely, it stays bigger remotely, and it finished remotely, because we
Mhm.
didn't need to, get to that connection.
Yeah. No, that's really good. That's good. It gives you more, breadth of, reach. A global reach that you can go places. You're like Santa Claus. In one day you can go all over the world.
Correct,
Yeah,
correct.
that's good. And
It's like the podcast, we are, we are not naturally, English speaker,
yeah.
but with English, we can create an opportunity and work also in a language and reach people that we wouldn't reach.
Mhm. And when you started training with Dr. Bandler and John Laval and Kathleen La Valle, that's when you switched to English, right? At that point, and and you've been with them a long time, right? You've been training with
I
them.
started working with them in 2007, so
Yeah,
it's gonna be almost 30, almost 20 years.
20.
20 years. Yeah, I
That's.
started more than 30 years ago, but
Mhm.
with them, I started assisting in 2007.
Yeah. No, and what is it that for you, what is the best lesson or the best insight you've received from Dr. Bandler?
To stop saying this is impossible, or this is tough.
Uh-huh.
Stop the preconceive, and just notice what's happening, and change my approach, and go for it. The most important thing I learned from Richard is attitude, and I understood why he said NLP is first of all an attitude,
Mhm.
because it's really the way you think and the way you approach to things that can completely change the results you have. And many times, I was thinking about, oh, what is gonna think that person if I do this, or if I push this, maybe they react that way. And I was doing a lot of preconceiving, creating some, movie in my mind. And what I really always loved about Richard is, no matter what he has in front of him, he just goes, because he know that the person can get better.
Mhm.
That's his belief. I know I can make it better. I know I can optimize it. I know It maybe needs work, but I can make it better. And maybe the reality is sometimes no, but if you have that belief, it's gonna drive you to use all the techniques you have, to use all the resources, and to try with every fiber of your soul, as Richard would say.
Very good. Thank you. That's true. I cannot add anything to that. That's amazing. Thank you for summarizing that and bringing it to the forefront for us. And I know that we're coming close to the end, and I wanted to do like a little game with you because you are peak performance. Do you know when I say rapid fire questions, do you know rapid fire means like I'm going to ask a question and you very fast give me the first answer that comes to mind.
Good.
You ready?
I'm ready.
The peak performance. No, so for you, what is the best time of the day to train your mind?
Morning.
And one book that every mental coach like you must read.
Think Fast and Slow. I don't know the name in English. From Daniel Kahneman.
Okay. Well, that's very cool. And what is your Go ahead.
Yeah, Think Fast and Slow.
Think Fast and Slow. Okay. And what is your pre-performance ritual before going into a session?
I just breathe. I don't have rituals anymore. I think the idea of opening the laptop or going on stage is that walk that it's already anchored, and I just go and I go in the flow. It's a very specific feelings that I don't have. It's so common for me. It's just probably a command I give to my mind, and I'm just there.
You're boom there. And so what is one NLP technique that or skill that you use every single day?
One technique or skill that I use every single day? Probably get into the flow. Get in the flow, yeah. I'm noticing that I'm so trained that every single if I have to do a performance, I first get into the state. So I change my posture. If you want to call it a technique, I change my posture, I change my breathing, and I'm focusing there.
Nice. And so what is one habit that has changed your life?
Stop procrastinating things. Yeah. I was like, let's do it after later, and that really changed me.
That's good. Because you can just do it now. Why wait?
Yeah, my rule, I've learned it from I don't remember the name. I think is Allen. It's the 2 minutes rule. 2 minutes rule. If I can do it in less than 2 minutes, I'm gonna do it now. Otherwise, I'm gonna schedule it, in my calendar.
Very good.
And the other habit I want to tell you is the discipline of doing whatever is on my calendar.
Yeah. I live by the calendar. If it's not in my calendar, it's not happening. But if it is there, it has to happen. That's true.
It's a good strategy.
Yeah. And so how can people get in touch with you? They want to follow your work or learn from you. What? And we will post any links in the YouTube description. But what is one way that they can reach you?
Well, easy peasy is gonna be by Instagram or social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever it is. You can just direct messaging me. I'm Ale Mora, so ALLEMORA. It sounds like the chant from Harry Potter or something like that. So Ale Mora, Alessandro Mora, or my name and last name, easy, the easy one, or on my site alemora.it.
Okay, good. And we'll have all that, as I say, in the YouTube description of this video, and people, will be able to reach. As I said at the beginning, I really want to thank you for coming here, but also for the good influence that you've been in my life.
It's
I, you know that I started running and, doing things like that. But then lately I've been doing jujitsu
okay.
of all things. So I started doing jujitsu and I'm having a lot of fun. It's something that like you have to be present, like to be able to be there and pay attention to everything. And I don't know if I can say, I don't think I get in a flow just yet, because I'm kind of like, wait, what do I do next? Because it's still very um,
You're
um
learning. You're
it's
still
like I'm
learning.
still learning it. It's like this is just the learning stages, but it is a lot of fun. And you truly were one of the inspirations to do this, because you said it like, hey, if you're going to be seeing clients or you're going to be training, you need to be fit, you need to be, that.
Absolutely. This is true also not for coaches, it's true for entrepreneurs, so for salespeople. Imagine a salesperson.
Yeah.
You have to go outside, to go out every single day, facing a lot of no's, no, no, no. If you start eating junk food, if you don't train, if you don't, train your body, fatigue is coming soon.
Yeah.
And when we are when we are, when we are tired, we don't have the right answer to people. We cannot handle objection well. We start, getting maybe bad responses with our partner or people that are working with us, colleagues. And this is just because we're not training our physical body.
Yeah.
So in order to get well here, you want to keep well here, and vice versa, of course.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important. I really appreciate. I'm so happy that I inspired you in doing that. I think it's one of the best thing absolutely in the world. And I noticed every single morning, when I'm in Orlando, and it's also here, I go in the gym with all the guys, okay,
Yes.
or I go out running. Because that's the environment that if you do it with other people and you create the habit, then it's gonna be so great, not only for your health, of course, but also for your mind.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. And well, yeah, so thank you. This was amazing. Thank you. Thank you so much. And we'll see you around. Thank
Absolutely.